So you already had the divorce papers ready? How about that? I scared you, didn't I? Because I'm ready for this anytime. So you better cool down and think about what you just said. With that, my husband Jackson got up and went into his room. My name is Camila, and I'm a 28-year-old office worker. I got married a year ago to a man named Jackson. We met on a blind date, and he pursued me. After dating for a year and a half, we got married. I think we got married a little too soon, but I always thought I wanted to get married and have children before I turned 30. So I accepted his proposal. But I realized later that I should have been more careful. The first thing that surprised me was that Jackson changed his job as soon as we got married. "I'm changing jobs," Jackson said out of the blue. "Why all of a sudden?" I asked him. He said, "Because I can't show my full potential there." I thought, what the heck? But he told me he had already submitted his resignation and would leave at the end of the month. He managed to get the job he wanted, but the salary was lower than his previous one. I thought it was okay since I was also working. But then Jackson started asking me to quit my job. I would have been fine with quitting if Jackson's income was enough to support us both, but as I mentioned, he just changed jobs and his salary is lower now. Jackson says his salary will increase soon, but we don't know when that will be. If I quit my job now, we wouldn't be able to save any money and would struggle to pay for things like rent and car expenses. In short, we couldn't manage on Jackson's salary alone. So I told Jackson, "I won't quit my job until your salary goes up." Jackson seemed to agree, but he kept asking me to quit. Each time, I gave him the same answer. Now we've been married for a year, and Jackson's salary still hasn't increased. He keeps asking, "When are you going to quit?" I'm really tempted to say now, sarcastically, and then tell him I'm just kidding and can't quit yet. If he wants me to quit so badly, he should earn more money. I feel like he should focus on his own work before persistently asking me to quit. I once wondered why Jackson wants me to quit my job so badly, and I finally came up with an answer. It seems Jackson wants me to take care of his mother, Helen. "I just want to make things easier for you, Mom," Jackson would often say to Helen whenever we visited my in-laws' house. Helen would graciously thank him, and then Jackson would add, "But we're both working," giving me a meaningful look. It was like he was subtly pushing me to quit my job. He claims his mother needs assistance, but Helen isn't actually sick or in need of care. She's healthy and quite active. In fact, she earns enough from her part-time job to support her hobbies, social outings, and live a fulfilling life. So realistically, she doesn't require my help at all. If I were in Helen's shoes, I'd feel disheartened to be seen as needing care when I'm perfectly capable. But Jackson continues to insist that I take care of Helen. "Oh, if only one of us were home during the day, we could go check on Mom every day," Jackson suddenly voiced his thoughts. It seemed he wanted me to visit my in-laws' house daily. Though hearing this was tiring, I persisted in asking my husband, "Helen is perfectly healthy. What exactly do you expect me to do?" Jackson matter-of-factly responded, "There are plenty of things you could do. You could help with housework or run errands. There's a lot to assist her with." "But Helen works part-time and spends time with her friends during the day, so she's not home much, right?" I countered. "Even if Mom isn't home, you could still handle the housework, couldn't you?" Jackson's words left me baffled. What is he saying? Am I supposed to be her maid? I thought to myself. Jackson seems to be very concerned about appearances, especially in front of his parents. If he's so determined to care for them, he should handle the household chores himself. I wasn't interested in indulging Jackson's pride, so I didn't quit my job and avoided visiting my in-laws on my days off. However, I did make sure to visit them during holidays like New Year's. Thinking back, Jackson often gave me tasks when we visited my in-laws together. He'd ask me to clean up, assist his mom, check if anything was needed from the store, and so on. But I never acted on these requests. When he asked me to go to the store, I'd respond with, "Don't you know more about this area than I do?" He'd then say it wouldn't make sense if I did it. I don't really understand his reasoning. It seems like he just wants to control me and feel good about taking care of his parents, doesn't it? That's how I started to view Jackson over time. Could it be that he's more concerned with appearances than genuinely caring for me? When I boldly asked him, "Why don't you pitch in or quit your job to care for your own mother?" He appeared extremely uncomfortable and had a disgusted expression on his face. "That's not something I'm supposed to do. I'm giving you these instructions so that my mom will think that you are a considerate, useful wife. I hope you realize how kind I am to you," he said. In other words, he wants to dump all the difficult tasks on his wife and show off how good he is, as if it's something remarkable. Well, I'm not his servant or slave, and I don't deserve to be treated disrespectfully in front of my in-laws. If Jackson continues making unreasonable demands, I won't stay silent. I'll stand up for myself. But despite talking to him, Jackson hasn't changed. He still asks, "Are you going to quit your job?" And whenever we visit my in-laws, he orders me around just like before. I had enough and decided to discuss it with him. "I think we need to talk about our future," I said. "Huh, what are you even trying to say?" "I'm honestly fed up. I'm tired of you constantly asking me when I'll quit my job. I'm exhausted from you pressuring me to take care of Helen. Why are you fed up with that? You're my wife, and it's your duty to care for your husband's parents. Don't you think that's a huge responsibility for me? Shouldn't you, as their biological child, be responsible for helping with the housework and taking care of your own parents in the first place? No way, it's the wife's duty to do it. Are you the kind of person who doesn't care about family? I'm really disappointed to hear you say that. Then let me ask you this. How have you been taking care of my parents? If I asked you to care for my parents, would you do it then? I questioned. Jackson stared at me blankly. What are you saying? Why should a husband take care of his wife's parents? Does that mean you won't take care of my parents now or ever? The husband's parents and wife's parents are completely different, I pressed. What difference does that make anyway? I don't get it, I said, frustrated. I didn't realize you were so clueless. It's like talking to my old boss, I continued. What are you saying? Jackson asked, confused. I'm saying the husband's parents should come first. You should take care of your wife's parents, I clarified. What? I exclaimed. So you only prioritize your own blood-related family? I'm so disappointed in you. I won't be visiting your parents anymore. Ha! Why would you do that? Enough is enough. I'm the one who wants you to stop this nonsense, I retorted. No way. How dare you talk back like that? My mom is right, Jackson shot back. Ha! Mom was talking about you. She said you're a badly behaved wife. That's why she gave me this. With that, Jackson pulled out a piece of paper from his bag. It was divorce papers. What? You already had divorce papers ready. I was shocked, but Jackson seemed strangely proud. See? I scared you, didn't I? I'm prepared for this anytime. So think about what you just said, Jackson declared smugly before leaving for his room. Unbelievable. Why is Jackson so selfish? And that look of triumph on his face. It's clear the divorce papers are a threat to make me obey him. The fact that Helen was involved made me even more suspicious. Jackson is acting like a puppet for his mom, trying to control me while following her orders. It's ridiculous. I won't let Jackson have his way. How can he not see our marriage is in trouble when he acts like this? His lack of understanding just annoys me more. Jackson had already completed the divorce papers and handed them to me, with witnesses including Helen and his friends. This meant I could sign and file them whenever I chose. The next day, after Jackson went to work, I filled out the divorce papers and submitted them to the city office. As a precaution, I also filed a notice of non-acceptance of the marriage certificate. I called my parents and explained the situation, knowing Jackson might threaten to file the marriage certificate on his own if he found out. My parents were shocked that I had already prepared the divorce papers but fully supported my decision, outraged by Jackson's behavior. They'd offered to help me move my belongings immediately. Taking a leave from work, I had my parents come over and relocate all my things to their house while Jackson was away. I decided to stay with my parents for a while. It was the first time in a long time that I felt comfortable and at ease spending time at their home. Thinking back, Jackson never lifted a finger for housework. I cooked dinner after long work days and handled all the cleaning and laundry on my days off. On top of that, he expected me to care for my in-laws, which was impossible. That night, Jackson called me as he must have just returned home from work. Hello. Hey, where are you right now? I'm at my parents' house. Ha, why would you go back to your parents' house without my permission? And there's none of your stuff here. Don't tell me you're staying the night there. I almost laughed. How could he think I was staying over when I had taken most of my things with me? It really showed his selfishness to even suggest that. I moved out of the house. I'm not coming back. Ha, what are you talking about? Come back here and make me some food, Jackson demanded. Please make it yourself, I replied firmly and ended the call. I couldn't discuss filing for divorce with him if he behaved like this. I decided to wait for him to come to my parents' house instead and blocked his number. A week later, Jackson showed up at my parents' house, but he wasn't alone. He had brought his parents with him. All three wore serious expressions. I led them into the living room, and we faced each other, 3 against 3. How could you do this? How could you leave for so long without my permission? Jackson demanded. Well, you were treating me like your housekeeper, weren't you? All I asked you to do was to take care of my family, Jackson insisted, his parents looking stern. Helen shot me a fierce glare. Don't twist things around. You always find ways to avoid your responsibilities and push them onto others. I've explained this countless times. That's not what I meant. What kind of wife are you if Jackson is doing so much for you? Helen continued, criticizing me. My father started to tremble with anger at her words. Before he could lose his composure, I interjected. Jackson told me to quit my job and care for Helen, saying it's my duty as his wife. But when it comes to my family, he expects me to handle everything alone. Ultimately, Jackson just wants obedience and uses me to care for his parents while taking credit for it. That's why he prioritizes his parents over mine. Have you heard Jackson say these things?" Helen continued to glare, but my father-in-law, Carter, looked confused, indicating he hadn't heard this before. "Let's clear the air." Jackson suddenly brought up divorce papers, claiming it was Helen's idea, I added. "What? Did you suggest that?" Carter asked Helen, clearly surprised. "Oh no, it's because Camilla has an attitude problem," Helen stammered. "And did you really say that Camilla's parents aren't a priority?" I pressed. "Well, it's only natural that your own parents come first," Helen retorted defensively. "Don't be absurd. I came here to support you after hearing about the unfair treatment Camilla endured. But now it seems you're the one at fault. Don't hide behind your parents' authority to get your way." Jackson visibly shrank in his seat. Carter spoke up, expressing everything I had wanted to say, and then apologized to me and my parents. "I'm truly sorry for the trouble caused by my foolish son. I will have a serious talk with him." "Carter, you're not to blame at all, so please don't apologize." "Thank you for your kind words, but there's something else I need to say." I turned to Jackson, who asked nervously, "What do you mean?" "The divorce papers you gave me. I've already filed them. We're no longer married." "What? No." Jackson and Helen both turned pale. "Why did you file them without my permission?" Jackson demanded, shocked. "You told me I could file them whenever I wanted, and besides, you already filled out your part and had Helen sign as a witness," I calmly explained. "Oh, that was," Jackson stammered, clearly at a loss for words. Carter, furious, intervened. "Jackson, you used divorce as a threat?" He slapped Jackson across the face. Helen was visibly shaken by the confrontation. "I apologize deeply that you had to witness this. You're right to divorce this fool. On behalf of Jackson, I'm truly sorry for ruining your marriage." Carter then grasped Jackson by the collar and demanded apologies from both Jackson and Helen before escorting them out of the house. I later thanked Carter for his intervention. He ensured that all of Jackson's assets and property were transferred to me without any alimony, given Jackson's agreement. Despite my higher income and managing our household, it was a relief to secure everything from our marriage. I later learned that Carter divorced Helen, clearly disgusted with her actions. The other day, I ran into a colleague from Jackson's old workplace, who shared some surprising news. Jackson wasn't performing well at his job and often received harsh criticism from his boss. In defiance, Jackson resigned and changed jobs. This was news to me, and it only added to my frustration with him. Instead of taking responsibility for his shortcomings, he blamed others, which probably contributed to his lower pay at the new job. I'm relieved I left him. I've rented a cozy apartment and enjoy living independently. Work is going smoothly. I even received a recent raise. Right now, I'm not interested in relationships and prefer focusing on my career. Jackson always cared more about appearances than his actual abilities. He maintained a facade at home, but failed to improve professionally. Sadly, there are many husbands who use divorce threats as leverage. They think they're powerful, but it's a big mistake. I hope they realize their folly and find happiness alone. Anyway, I'm grateful to have moved on from Jackson. I look forward to meeting someone special in the future.